Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun in Washington, D.C., was barely rising, but the city was already awake. A light rain fell, sliding off the wet cobblestones of the avenues, reflecting the streetlights and creating a heavy, gray atmosphere. In this capital where power and hierarchy dictate the rhythm of life, every figure of authority has their role, but sometimes, even the highest-ranking can find themselves vulnerable. General Marcus Holloway, 60 years old, the first African-American general to command the powerful U.S. Army Eastern Division, walked with a firm, measured stride. His immaculate uniform, every medal and ribbon carefully placed, testified to decades of discipline, sacrifice, and struggle, on the battlefield and against prejudice. Holloway was not just a soldier, he was a symbol of success, resilience, and dignity in a system where skin color had long been an obstacle. Yet, that morning, an unexpected force was emerging. In a nearby patrol car, police officer Derek Collins, white, in his 30s, with a hard stare and a tight jaw, watched the street suspiciously. Collins had never been discreet about his opinions, he believed himself above the hierarchy, above the rules, and harbored racial prejudices that he barely concealed behind his badge. As Holloway was about to cross the intersection leading to his office, Collins saw in this black man in uniform a challenge to his authority. Unaware that he was facing one of the most powerful officers in the army, he got out of his car and stepped forward, arm raised. "Halt," he ordered, his voice dry and unwavering. Holloway stopped, surprised by the sudden aggression. He took a step back, but his posture remained dignified. He had never faced such a direct affront in public, much less from an officer who was completely unaware of his rank. "I am General Marcus Holloway," he commanded calmly. Collins shrugged, a mocking smile on his lips. "Oh, really? It just sounds like someone breaking the rules. You know how it is here, no special treatment." At that precise moment, the rain fell harder, streaming down the general's shoulders. The raindrops mingled with the palpable tension, as if to underscore the impending humiliation. Holloway felt a simmering anger rising, but he suppressed it. He knew that an impulsive reaction could worsen the situation. Yet, one question burned in his mind: how could a man so disregard and despise the authority represented by the entire army? The already dramatic scene quickly descended into scandal, captured by passers-by and cameras, triggering a national firestorm. That morning in Washington, a simple police stop revealed the fragility of appearances and the weight of racism, even in the face of the highest levels of military power. Raindrops pattered gently on the pavement as General Marcus Holloway walked steadily toward the intersection leading to his office. His mind was focused on the files he had to review that morning, but an unusual presence caught his attention. A visibly tense police officer was gesturing for him to stop. "Halt," ordered police officer Derek Collins, in an authoritative and dry voice, unable to mask the suspicion in his eyes. Holloway stopped, frowning slightly. His hand rested on the lapel of his military coat, instinctively ready to defend himself if necessary, but his voice remained calm and measured. "Good morning, officer. I am General Marcus Holloway, commander of the Eastern Division. May I ask why you are asking me to stop?" Collins shrugged, a mocking smile on his lips. "General or not, here everyone has to follow the rules. And you seem suspicious. You never know." Holloway felt a mixture of disbelief and anger rising within him. Every word from Collins was an attack on his honor and career, a public humiliation that destabilized him as much as the policeman's blatant ignorance. "Officer," he said calmly but firmly, "you are treating me like a criminal, even though I have broken no law. I ask you to respect my authority and that of the army." Collins sneered, advancing with an aggressive step. "Respect? I don't need to respect someone who thinks they're a king just because of their uniform. The rules are the same for everyone." Without waiting for Holloway's response, Collins tried to handcuff him. Holloway recoiled, surprised and shocked. Passers-by around them began to stop, some taking out their phones to film the scene. "You can't do that," exclaimed Holloway. "I'm a senior officer." Collins, unperturbed and confident in his power, replied coldly. An officer, perhaps. But here, I decide who obeys the law. The shock of those words hit Holloway hard. He never would have imagined that a policeman, unaware of his identity and rank, would dare to humiliate him like that. Every passing second was an affront to his dignity, and the tension in the air seemed to thicken, almost palpable, as if the rain itself were holding its breath. Just a few meters away, a passerby's camera captured the entire scene. What began as a simple stop would soon turn into a national scandal, exposing the latent racism and abuse of power of a police officer who thought he could humiliate the highest-ranking officer in a division of the American Army. The rain intensified, pounding the cobblestones and cascading down General Marcus Holloway's shoulders. His face remained impassive, but his eyes gleamed with suppressed anger. Passers-by watched, some in disbelief, others discreetly pulling out their phones to film the scene. Police Officer Derek Collins moved closer, his tone a mixture of authority and contempt. Just talk. You'll come with me. You have no right to treat me like this, replied Holloway, his voice calm but firm. I am a senior Army officer. Collins shrugged, as if to dismiss the importance of that rank. He grabbed Holloway by the arm, attempting to handcuff him despite the general's passive resistance. Holloway, usually in control of his emotions, felt shame wash over him. To be humiliated in the street by a policeman unaware of his identity was an affront that no uniform or medal could instantly repair. You're just a liar trying to pass yourself off as an officer, spat Collins, with no regard for the general's dignity. Holloway allowed himself to be led to the patrol car, his back straight, his head held high despite the rain and the humiliation. Each step seemed heavy, each raindrop seemed to mingle with the tension in the air. Witnesses murmured among themselves, shocked by the arrest of a man who was clearly respected and distinguished. Collins, confident in his power, attempted one last provocation. You're going to learn what it feels like to think you're better than others. Holloway, despite everything, remained composed. He knew that losing his temper would only worsen the situation. He observed Collins, studying every gesture, every expression, aware that this moment could define his reputation not only in the army, but in the eyes of the entire country. As Holloway was shoved into the patrol car, a video captured by a bystander began circulating on social media. The faces of Holloway and Collins, the rain, the handcuffs, everything testified to the blatant injustice of the arrest. Very quickly, the scandal began to spread far beyond the intersection, sparking anger and dismay among thousands of Americans who could not believe that a commander-in-chief of the army would be treated in this way. Shortly after the arrest, a video of Marcus Holloway handcuffed in the rain went viral on social media. The footage showed a dignified and imposing U.S. Army general reduced to a state of public vulnerability by a racist and arrogant police officer. Shocked internet users shared, commented, and denounced the injustice. In the hours that followed, national news networks rushed to cover the event. Newspapers spoke of an unprecedented incident, and legal, political, and military experts debated the blatant abuse of power. Even Congress was approached with demands for an explanation of Derek Collins' conduct. At the Pentagon, Holloway, released on bail after being properly identified, received immediate support from his colleagues and superiors. The Chief of Staff called him, "General Holloway, rest assured that we will not tolerate this type of behavior. We are launching a full internal investigation." Holloway, despite his undiminished dignity, felt the weight of humiliation and anger that he had to control to remain credible. He knew that any impulsive action could be used against him, so he chose the path of transparency and reason. "Thank you," he replied calmly. "But it's important that the truth comes to light, not just for me, but for all those who might suffer a similar injustice." Meanwhile, Derek Collins was placed on immediate administrative leave, under investigation for abuse of power and inappropriate conduct. The media and public pressure was immense. Every journalist, every citizen wanted an answer, a symbol that authority and justice are not privileges linked to skin color. Across the country, the case became the subject of intense debate about institutional racism, respect for authority, and equality before the law. Holloway, despite the pain of the humiliation, became a symbol of dignity and resilience. He delivered a moving speech on national television, reminding everyone of the importance of justice, mutual respect, and vigilance against injustice. The scandal was not just a personal humiliation, it had become a stark reminder that even the highest-ranking officials can face racism and abuse of power, but that dignity and patience can turn injustice into a lesson for an entire country. The days that followed were a whirlwind for Marcus Holloway. The video of his arrest and humiliation had shocked the nation, but instead of giving in to anger, he chose dignity and patience. Every interview, every public statement was carefully measured. He spoke of justice, equality, and respect, leaving the public to admire not only his courage but also his self-control. Meanwhile, police officer Derek Collins found himself under intense public scrutiny. His superiors had launched a full investigation, and confronted with video evidence and witness testimonies, he could no longer deny his racist and abusive behavior. The decision was swift. Collins was dismissed from the police force and prosecuted for abuse of power. His name became synonymous with shame and injustice. The Pentagon and the U.S. government seized the opportunity to reaffirm the respect due to the armed forces and their leaders. A symbolic ceremony was held for Holloway. His colleagues and subordinates, as well as civilian representatives, paid tribute to his courage and dignity in the face of adversity. During this ceremony, Holloway spoke. "Today, we are not just celebrating a career or a uniform," he said. "We are celebrating justice, dignity, and the courage to resist injustice. No matter who you are, no matter the color of your skin, respect and truth must prevail." His words resonated beyond the room, touching millions of Americans. Holloway had once again become the undisputed authority he had always been, but this experience had reinforced his message: true power lies in dignity, courage, and the ability to transform humiliation into a lesson for all. Months later, as Washington returned to its usual rhythm, Holloway continued to serve with excellence, but every time he passed the intersection where Collins had stopped him, he remembered that day. Not with resentment, but with the certainty that he had triumphed not through force, but through integrity. The dismissed police officer, the media, the public, all had learned a valuable lesson. And Holloway, despite everything he had endured, remained a living symbol of justice, respect, and resilience in the face of the most blatant prejudices.